There's a very strange, unique, rare, and impactful planetary alignment coming at the end of February. Today, we look at the impact that it's going to have on the world and each one of us. Hello everybody, I'm Tina Charu. Welcome to my channel and a very warm namaste. On February 17th, Saturn will move into its next nakshatra of Dhanishta. Now Dhanishta has two phases or two padas in Capricorn. So it's going to stay in Capricorn where it's been for the last 1.5 years. It's going to stay in Capricorn, but it's going to move into its next nakshatra. Now on February 28th is when the new drama of planetary alignment starts. What happens? Well, there's going to be 4 more planets that enter the house of Capricorn. They're going to be Moon, Mars, Venus, and Mercury. So, and if you count Pluto, which has already been in Capricorn, there's going to be 6 planets in the house of Capricorn. Capricorn, we know, is ruled by Saturn. Now, the more surprising thing or the unusual thing is that on March 1st, which is the next day, the moon will transit over into its next sign of Aquarius. Jupiter and Sun are already in Aquarius. So the moon will join them, and then there will be 3 planets in Aquarius. Aquarius is also ruled by Saturn. So now you know that out of the 9 planets that Vedic Jyotish considers, 7 of them will be in 2 signs, which is Capricorn and Aquarius, and both these signs are ruled by Saturn. The reason it's a little strange or a little rare occurrence is that for all the 7 planets to be in 2 signs and both of those signs to be ruled by Saturn is a little challenging, and it's rare, and the fact that it has a special significance for all of us and the world. What is that significance, and what impact is it going to have on the world and all of us? We're going to take a look at that. One of the other things that I've said in my previous video is that there's a Kal Sarp yoga going on. Kal Sarp means that all these planets are contained within the zodiac signs between Rahu and Ketu. Well, Rahu and Ketu are not real planets, they're virtual planets, and Rahu is in Taurus and Scorpio, and Ketu is in Scorpio. So we know that Capricorn and Aquarius are between those 2 signs. So the Kal Sarp continues, but now it gets a little more intensified. So the Kal Sarp has now become even more challenged after February, because now not only are we controlled by the 2 virtual planets of the nodes or Rahu Ketu, but now Saturn becomes the dominant factor, because Saturn is controlling the 2 signs of Aquarius and Capricorn, and hence because all the planets are in these 2 signs, Saturn starts to dominate all these planets, and the Kal Sarp combined with Saturn begins to dominate all of us. We're going to take a look at what this means for all of us and the whole world. This is pretty challenging time, so let's go into the details of what it means for the world and all of us. Before I move on and talk about just this conjunction and the impact it has, there's one more factor that we have to consider, and that factor being that in April of 2022, this year, every single planet that Vedic Jyotish considers, all the 9 planets, are going to have a transit in April. Now, this is a very, very unusual event. The slow-moving planets, which is Mars, Venus, and Mercury, have very frequent transits. They transit every few weeks. The moon transits every other day, or once in 2 days. So those transits are pretty frequent, nothing to be concerned about. But the outer planets, which is Jupiter and Saturn, and then the nodes, which is Rahu and Ketu, don't have frequent transits. Jupiter transits once in 12 months to 13 months. Saturn doesn't even transit until 2.5 years. And Rahu and Ketu transit once in 18 months. So it's very rare for all of these planets to transit in one single month. So April is going to be a game changer for all of us and for the whole world. When it gets closer to April, I'll make videos on what it means when all these planets transit. But what we need to understand right now is that for all of these planets to have transits in these 2 signs of Aquarius and Capricorn, And then following that, 2 months later, for all the planets to have transits in April, that the period between the end of February and until April, when all the planets change houses, it's a very crucial time for us. It's a very challenging time for us. The one more thing that I will tell you is that every planet is the most comfortable in its own house. So, for example, the moon is most comfortable in Cancer. The sun is most comfortable in Leo. So these are the examples where a planet is most comfortable in its own house. At the beginning of July, another interesting event happens. 5 planets will be in their own houses. First week of July, there will be 5 planets. They will all go home and go back into their own houses. And that actually signals a very good positive impact or positive energy for all of us and the world. So the challenging time starts at the end of February. It goes through April. There's a lot of shift what happens for all of us and the world in April when the planets shift. So there's a shift for all of us. The energy shifts and it finally settles down and becomes very positive in July. This is what I think. I have not heard this anywhere, but this is what I feel is what this shift means for all of us.
Let's take a look at the significations of the planets, the 5 planets that are going to be in the house of Capricorn first. Mars is a fighter. Mars represents the army general of the birth chart. Mars protects you. Mars is a protective energy. Mars also represents real estate. Saturn represents the boundaries that we give ourselves. Saturn is restricting in nature. Hence, it represents the boundaries that we assign ourselves or the boundaries that are assigned by the leaderships. When you put Saturn and Mars together, the negative impact of it is conflict related to boundaries. Boundaries established by countries, religion, belief systems, and also land. So there's possibility of a lot of conflict during this time, starting from the end of February to April, where there's conflict between countries and warlike situations. I'm not saying there's going to be wars. I'm just saying that there's a lot of conflict between countries fighting over boundaries that we set up. Like I said, it could be land related, it could be ocean or sea related boundaries, or it could also be religious boundaries. It could be social boundaries. It could be economic boundaries. So these 2 planets signify conflict between 2 entities over our boundary situations. The other thing is Mercury is there. Mercury represents economic and finance. And when you put it with Saturn and you give it a negative tone to it, it represents economic situation, a challenging economic situation, an unstable economy, an unstable finance structure. So that's one of the other significations that we can see. The moon is also there, and moon represents our food. It represents nourishment. The other prediction we can easily make is there could be shortage of food. There could be food poisoning incidents that affect our health. So health related to food issues can happen. When the moon and Saturn are together in a birth chart, it makes a vish yoga or a poisonous yoga. So moon related issues can happen, food related issues can happen. Food prices can go up. There could be shortages of food as well. So that's the third prediction that can easily be made. Venus is part of this conjunction as well, and we know that Venus relates to our relationships in our life. Conflict in relationships can also come up. Relationships could be all kinds. It doesn't have to be love relationships. Relationships can be between siblings. It could be parent-child relationships. It could also be relationships, political relationships. It could also be relationship between friends. It could also be relationship between countries. So right now, relationships between February to April are going to be very challenged. Any relationships, because Venus actually relates to all relationships, because other planets are now involved. Mars is your brother. Mercury is your sister. So because all the planets are in there, now we're saying all relationships could be challenged. So these are the significations that we can expect to happen after April. We have to be very cautious of how we handle this conflicting, this troubled energy. This conjunction in Capricorn signals a very out of balance energy. The planets, when they're scattered through the sky, kind of have a balanced energy. When all the planets gather together in one house, it makes the universe or the energy to be out of balance. And that's why this out of balance energy gives us a very challenging situation that we have to deal with. Hence, the guidance for all of us is to stay very balanced. Don't forget, the moon is our mind and our emotion. And hence, we have to make sure that we keep our mind and a mental equilibrium balanced. We don't get into fights with other people because they could signal the end of relationships as well. They could not end well. They could end really badly. Saturn governs our career and our profession. So we have to be very cautious when dealing with what we're doing at work. How are we dealing with our relationships at work? What are we saying to people? Don't forget, Mercury is the significator of our communication. How are we communicating with people at work? Saturn governs our workplace. How are we communicating with people and our relationships? They can break during this time. So I'm cautioning you, and my guidance to all of you, is to make sure our communication stays very cordial. We try to maintain our relationships, we nurture our relationships, and we don't break them. Now let me talk about the other conjunction, the 3-planet conjunction that's going on in Aquarius. There's Sun, there's Jupiter, and then there's the Moon. Now the Sun represents our soul, the Moon represents our mind, and Jupiter is a Jivkaraka, so it represents the life force in our body. So this conjunction represents the mind, body, and soul connection. And what is it trying to tell us? What is nature trying to tell us? Aquarius is a very positive sign for Saturn. Capricorn indicates the hard work, but Aquarius is where our desires and wish fulfillment sign of Aquarius. So it's trying to tell us, it's giving us an indication of what we have to do. What do we have to do? We have to balance our mind, body, and soul if we want to have our desires fulfilled. How do you do that? So nature itself gives us a clue of how we can get through this conjunction or this difficult time. It's saying to keep our mind, body, and soul in balance together. And how do we do that? How do you keep your mind, body, and soul together when they may be having a difficult time in the world or in our personal lives? One of the things that I strongly suggest at this time to do is to keep doing deep breathing exercise. Why is that? Jupiter signifies breathing or deep breathing. Jupiter signifies our breath. It also signifies our nose. Do deep breathing exercises. Do pranic breathing. And yoga has a lot of good pranic breathing exercises that you can do. I'm not a yoga teacher by any means, but I think that's what we can do to balance our mind and body and soul, because that's what it's actually telling us to do, is maybe the solution to that. The solution is to keep our breath in check. One of the things that I have to tell you about is when we do shallow breathing, we get more stressed. The more deep breathing that we do is the more relaxed we feel. So our breath is going to be key right now, because Jupiter holds the key to our relaxation right now and getting in touch with our souls and keeping our mind composed. Try to practice some deep breathing exercises. You can go on YouTube, you can find somebody that shows you how to do pranic breathing. A lot of people already practice yoga. You can certainly try to do some of the pranic breathing exercises, the deep breathing exercises that yoga suggests. Now, I myself have a breathing coach that I use because, I get so stressed from reading birth charts and get the negative energy on me. So I have a breathing coach that I use. I can put her contact in my description box and a link to her introductory yoga if you want. By no means is this video a promotion. She's not paying me to do that. This is not a sponsored video. But if somebody wants to get in touch with her and use the same breathing coach that I use, by all means, go for that. But again, this three planet conjunction in Aquarius is actually giving us the key of how we can get through these troubling times. One of the other things, besides making sure that you're breathing well and you're doing deep breathing, one of the other things that you always have to keep in mind during this time is because Saturn is king, Saturn is the ruler right now, and Saturn is also the keeper of our karma. It's the karmic planet. Is to make sure you're keeping good check on the karma. Make sure you don't incur any more negative karma. Make sure everything that you do is a positive karma. Otherwise, you'll get slammed with the results or the consequences of all negative karma immediately. That's what happens when you're undergoing anything to do with Saturn. You almost get slammed with the consequence of your negative karma almost immediately. So make sure you keep your karma in check. Make sure you're doing some deep breathing to activate a good Jupiter, and things should take care of themselves. I'm going to move on and do very quick predictions for all ascendants because everybody's always asking me to do predictions. So quick predictions for all of you. Before I move on to predictions, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe and share this video with friends and family. And don't forget to put your comments and hit the like button if you like the video. Aries. Aries, this conjunction is taking place in your 10th house. So 10th house is your house of career and profession. So make sure that you don't take any rash decisions regarding your career or your job place. There may be some challenges at the workplace. There may be some backbiting behind you at your workplace. Keep your eyes and ears open. No rash decisions. And of course, your communication with your marital partner needs to be very, very cordial. Make sure you nurture those relationships that are important to you at work and at home. Taurus. The conjunction is in your 9th house. The 9th house symbolizes education, long distance travel, your father, and it's the house of luck. It's not the time to test your luck. Also, if you're doing something with education, if you're an education, teaching people, or you're learning, or you're a student, there may be some hurdles in it. Try to overcome those. Don't test your luck, like I said, and tell your dad you love him. Make sure you nurture that relationship with your father. Also, if you're making some long distance plans, double check everything so there's no hurdles or obstacles in it. Gemini. This conjunction is happening in your 8th house. Now, the 8th house is a negative house. It's not considered a lucky house. But a negative conjunction in a negative house, negative and negative make it positive. So if your health was suffering in the past, you may feel a little better now, just a little bit better. And if you were mentally stressed or you were thinking about a lot of things and they were bothering you, they may stop bothering you a little bit and your mind might start to calm down a little bit. You also might feel like you can make better decisions, like your mind starts to calm down, the confusion, starts to clear up, so you might make better decisions. The money flow might improve also actually right now, a little better than before. I'm not saying there's going to be a windfall or anything like that, but it might get a little better for you. Cancer. This conjunction is happening in your 7th house. The 7th house denotes your marriage, your business partners as well, and also your public image. Cancer people already had a little bit of trouble in their married life since Saturn came in there a year and a half ago. This might make it just a little bit worse. The one thing you can do to help it is to keep your communication in check. Also, if you get creative with projects at work or something like that, you may actually see some recognition because the 7th house does represent your public image. So try to refocus instead of being on your marriage partner. Focus on your business and your creativity at work, and just try to distract yourself from it. Be very creative. Come up with creative ways to do work at work. Also, one of the things you have to do is watch your communication and your ego at work. Things might deteriorate very fast, faster than you think they would. So keep your communication at work cordial, and don't let your ego get in the way at work. Leo. This conjunction is happening in your 6th house. The 6th house denotes your workplace, loans, debts, enmity. It also denotes your health. So make sure you maintain your health. Take good care of your health. One of the things you can do is maintain a very strict daily routine and a physical regimen, meaning do some kind of workout, whether it's hard workout or just a general low impact workout, but do something like that. Also, watch your back at work. Like I said, it denotes your workplace, so make sure you watch your back at work. Make sure nobody's talking behind your back. Keep your eyes and ears open. Also, don't give out loans to people. You won't get them back, and make sure you don't take on too much loans yourself. You may have trouble paying them back later. Virgo. Virgo, this conjunction is happening in your 5th house. The 5th house denotes children, love affairs, your education, and also your investments and the stock market if you play it. You have to be very careful regarding your investments, or if you're playing the stock market. Don't take any risks right now. That's not what Saturn wants you to do. It wants you to play safe. Saturn is a planet that tells you always to play safe and don't cross your boundaries of taking chances. Also, this denotes your children. So there may be some challenging times with your children. Make sure you stay close to them, tell them you love them, and maintain that relationship. If you have little kids, make sure you take good care of their health at this time. People that are engaged in education, may find that they're distracted a lot, so make sure you maintain that distraction. You don't get distracted, maintain the focus. Also, love affairs, make sure you maintain good communication. Otherwise, the love affairs could get a little risky and they could break if you don't take control of your communication at this time. So make sure you take good care of all these significations during this time. Libra, this conjunction is happening in your 4th house, and the 4th house represents domestic happiness, mental stress, also represents real estate transactions, and also represents purchase of large ticket items like a car or a house. So you may have felt a lot of stress since Saturn has been in the 4th house since a year and a half. You might feel a little better now since this conjunction happens. You may feel a little less stress. You may be feeling that you can make better decisions and your mental stress has gone down. And also, if you watch your communication, your domestic happiness can come back in a way. So make sure you maintain your communication at home. Also, you may feel that if you maintain your communication and you keep it good, work is going to get better too. You've been stressed at work as well, so the work can also improve if you maintain your communication and you keep it positive at all times. It's a good time for real estate transactions. Scorpio, this conjunction is taking place in your 3rd house. The 3rd house denotes a very hard work, self-effort, dedication to the job, your siblings and your neighbors as well. You need to make sure you maintain a good relationship with your siblings. It could be challenged at this time, or your neighbors even. Also, you're going to notice that you're going to have to put in a lot of hard work to see the results of your actions. It's not going to be easy like it was before, where things just fell into your lap. Now you're going to have to put in the hard work. Also, you have to avoid conflicts at the workplace or conflicts at homes. There's going to be some tendency to have conflicts with almost everybody, especially in the workplace. So make sure you avoid these conflicts. These conflicting situations could end badly for you. Keep your head down, work hard if you want to see the gains. The gains are there to be had, but this time it's not going to be easy, fall in the lap. You're going to have to work much harder. Sagittarius, this conjunction is happening in your 2nd house. The 2nd house denotes your food, your family, and your finances. There's going to be some challenges related to family and communication. The 2nd house does represent your mouth and your communication, so that's going to be very critical that you watch it during this time. Don't say things to offend people, especially your family members. Relationships could break as a result of that. You also have to take good care of what you eat, because the 2nd house represents the food you eat. If you eat well, make sure you eat well. You don't eat something that doesn't agree with you, because there's a chance that you could have some digestion and stomach issues. Also, watch your finances very carefully. Don't make any rash decisions on what to do or how to handle your finances, and don't give out loans. You won't get them back at this time, especially to family members. Your finance may be a little unstable right now, but make sure your communication at all times is calm and composed. This is the most important for Sagittarius people because it does rule the 2nd house. Capricorn, this whole conjunction is happening in your own ascendant house, and those people that have Capricorn but their moon is in Dhanishta or their ascendant is Dhanishta have to be extremely careful, because Saturn is in your nakshatra, so you have to be careful. Now, the 1st house represents your own self, your body, your health, and your image that you give out to people, of how others view you. Make sure you present yourself well. Take good care of your health. Watch what you eat and take good care of yourself, meaning good grooming. Make sure you're looking good, you're presenting yourself well. You may find yourself in a situation where you wanted to look good, and then all of a sudden you were faced with people and you weren't looking your best, and then you were unhappy with yourself. Make sure you're looking your best at all times. You never know what situation comes up, so make sure you're taking good care of yourself, your health, eating well. You may feel a little stressed because don't forget, Saturn, all these planets are in your ascendant house, so you may feel a little stressed under this conjunction. The whole conjunction is happening in your ascendant house. Make sure you're taking good care of your health and also maintaining the emotional balance. Like I said, the breathing is very important for especially the Capricorn ascendants. Make sure you practice deep breathing exercises, any good breathing exercises, pranic breathing, yoga. Everything is going to help Capricorn ascendants because this conjunction is in your ascendant house. Most beneficial for my Capricorn ascendants is to practice yoga or whatever you can do to improve your own body and health will be very beneficial for you. Aquarius, this conjunction is happening in your 12th house. The Aquarius people have already been bothered with very high expenses and maybe some challenging health situations. Well, it might get a little better because 12th house is not a positive house, so a negative house with a negative conjunction can only make things better. Negative, make it positive. So your health might get slightly better. I'm not saying it's going to become great, but it's going to be better than before. Your expense situation may be a little better than before. So whatever that Aquarius was suffering with, it could just make it a little better. So a little better health, a little better control on expenses. Otherwise, take good care of yourself. And if there was any long distance travel that you were planning, go ahead, plan that. But make sure you check all the paperwork and everything, all the details because there could be some hurdles, obstacles, or some missed detail that you do. So check all the long distance travel details before you get on the plane. Last but not the least, Pisces. Pisces, this conjunction is happening in your 11th house. The 11th house denotes friends and your older siblings, and above all, your gains from investments or the monetary gains that you have. You have to be very careful of how you invest your money, of how you spend your money, so you get your investments. Make very investments with very careful thought. Don't forget how the way Rahu is positioned for you guys. Your chances of you being deceived are very high right now. So make sure you get good advice before you spend or invest your money. Also, take good care of your siblings and the relationships with your siblings. The other thing is make sure you have no conflicts with your friends and your network circle. Keep the communication cordial and make sure you don't jeopardize any of those key relationships that you count on. One of my very cautions that I have to put out for my Pisces people is to make sure that you spend your money wisely. This is not a good time to take chances with your luck. With this, I come to the end of my video. Good luck, stay safe, and see you on my next video.